Welcome, let us talk about continent of Europe. Europe is a continent comprising the westernmost peninsulas of Eurasia located entirely in the northern hemisphere and mostly in the eastern hemisphere. It shares the continental landmass of Afro-Eurasia with both Africa and Asia. It is bordered by the Arctic Ocean to the north, the Atlantic Ocean to the west, the Mediterranean Sea to the south, and Asia to the east. Europe is commonly considered to be separated from Asia by the watershed of the Ural Mountains, the Ural River, the Caspian Sea, the Greater Caucasus, the Black Sea and the waterways of the Turkish Straits. Europe covers about 10.18 million square kilometers, 3.93 million square miles, or 2% of Earth's surface, 6.8% of land area, making it the second smallest continent, using the seven-continent model. Politically, Europe is divided into about 50 sovereign states, of which Russia is the largest and most populous, spanning 39% of the continent and comprising 15% of its population. Europe had a total population of about 745 million, about 10% of the world population, in 2021, the third largest after Asia and Africa. The European climate is largely affected by warm Atlantic currents that temper winters and summers on much of the continent, even at latitudes along which the climate in Asia and North America is severe. Further from the sea, seasonal differences are more noticeable than close to the coast. European culture is the root of Western civilization, which traces its lineage back to ancient Greece and ancient Rome. The fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE and the related migration period marked the end of Europe's ancient history, and the beginning of the Middle Ages. The Renaissance began in Florence and spread to the rest of the continent, bringing a renewed interest in humanism, exploration, art, and science which contributed to the beginning of the modern era. Since the Age of Discovery, led by Spain and Portugal, Europe played a predominant role in global affairs with multiple explorations and conquests around the world. Between the 16th and 20th centuries, European powers colonized at various times the Americas, almost all of Africa and Oceania, and the majority of Asia. The Age of Enlightenment, the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars shaped the continent culturally, politically, and economically from the end of the 17th century until the first half of the 19th century. The Industrial Revolution, which began in Great Britain at the end of the 18th century, gave rise to radical economic, cultural, and social change in Western Europe and eventually the wider world. Both world wars began and were fought to a great extent in Europe, contributing to a decline in Western European dominance in world affairs by the mid-20th century as the Soviet Union and the United States took prominence. During the Cold War, Europe was divided along the Iron Curtain between NATO in the west and the Warsaw Pact in the east, until the revolutions of 1989, fall of the Berlin Wall and the dissolution of the Soviet Union. The European Union, EU, and the Council of Europe are two important international organizations aiming to represent the European continent on a political level. The Council of Europe was founded in 1948 with the idea of unifying Europe 18 to achieve common goals and prevent future wars. Further European integration by some states led to the formation of the European Union, a separate political entity that lies between a confederation and a federation. The EU originated in Western Europe but has been expanding eastward since the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991. A majority of its members have adopted a common currency, the euro, and a large bloc of countries, the Schengen area, have abolished internal border and immigration controls. Europe makes up the western fifth of the Eurasian landmass. It has a higher ratio of coast to land mass than any other continent or subcontinent. Its maritime borders consist of the Arctic Ocean to the north, the Atlantic Ocean to the west and the Mediterranean, Black, and Caspian Seas to the south. Land relief in Europe shows great variation within relatively small areas. The southern regions are more mountainous, while moving north the terrain descends from the high Alps, Pyrenees, and Carpathians, through hilly uplands, into broad, low northern plains, which are vast in the east. This extended lowland is known as the Great European Plain and at its heart lies the North German Plain. An arc of uplands also exists along the northwestern seaboard, which begins in the western parts of the islands of Britain and Ireland, and then continues along the mountainous, fjord-cut spine of Norway. This description is simplified. Subregions such as the Iberian Peninsula and the Italian Peninsula contain their own complex features, as does mainland Central Europe itself, where the relief contains many plateaus, river valleys, and basins that complicate the general trend. Subregions like Iceland, Britain, and Ireland are special cases. The former is a land unto itself in the Northern Ocean that is counted as part of Europe, while the latter are upland areas that were once joined to the mainland until rising sea levels cut them off. Map of Europe is substantially derived from the reorganization of Europe following the Napoleonic Wars in 1815. The prevalent form of government in Europe is parliamentary democracy, in most cases in the form of republic. In 1815, the prevalent form of government was still the monarchy. Europe's remaining 11 monarchies are constitutional. European integration is the process of political, legal, economic, and in some cases social and cultural, integration of European states as it has been pursued by the powers sponsoring the Council of Europe since the end of the Second World War. The European Union has been the focus of economic integration on the continent since its foundation in 1993. More recently, the Eurasian Economic Union has been established as a counterpart comprising former Soviet states. 27 European states are members of the Politico-Economic European Union, 26 of the border-free Schengen area and 20 of the Monetary Union Eurozone. Among the smaller European organizations are the Nordic Council, the Benelux, the Baltic Assembly and the Visegrad Group. As a continent, the economy of Europe is currently the largest on Earth and it is the richest region as measured by assets under management with over $32.7 trillion compared to North America's $27.1 trillion in 2008. In 2009 Europe remained the wealthiest region. Its $37.1 trillion in assets under management represented one-third of the world's wealth. It was one of several regions where wealth surpassed its pre-crisis year-end peak. As with other continents, Europe has a large wealth gap among its countries. The richer states tend to be in the northwest and west in general, followed by Central Europe, while most economies of Eastern and Southeastern Europe are still reemerging from the collapse of the Soviet Union and the breakup of Yugoslavia. The European Union, a political entity composed of 27 European states, comprises the largest single economic area in the world. 19 EU countries share the euro as a common currency. 5 European countries rank in the top 10 of the world's largest national economies in GDP, PPP. This includes, ranks according to the CIA: Germany, 6, Russia, 7, the United Kingdom, 10, France, 11, and Italy, 13. Some European countries are much richer than others. The richest in terms of nominal GDP is Monaco with its $185,829 per capita, 2018, and the poorest is Ukraine with its $3,659 per capita, 2019. As a whole, Europe's GDP per capita is $21,767 according to a 2016 International Monetary Fund assessment. The population of Europe was about 742 million in 2023 according to UN estimates. This is slightly more than 1/9 of the world's population. The population density of Europe, the number of people per area, is the second highest of any continent, behind Asia. The population of Europe is currently slowly decreasing, by about 0.2% per year, because there are fewer births than deaths. This natural decrease in population is reduced by the fact that more people migrate to Europe from other continents than vice versa. Europe is home to the highest number of migrants of all global regions at nearly 87 million people in 2020, according to the International Organization for Migration. In 2005, the EU had an overall net gain from immigration of 1.8 million people. This accounted for almost 85% of Europe's total population growth. In 2021, 827,000 persons were given citizenship of an EU member state, an increase of about 14% compared with 2020. 2.3 million immigrants from non-EU countries entered the EU in 2021. Early modern emigration from Europe began with Spanish and Portuguese settlers in the 16th century, and French and English settlers in the 17th century. But numbers remained relatively small until waves of mass emigration in the 19th century, when millions of poor families left Europe. Today, large populations of European descent are found on every continent. European ancestry predominates in North America and to a lesser degree in South America, particularly in Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, and Brazil, while most of the other Latin American countries also have a considerable population of European origins. Australia and New Zealand have large European-derived populations. Africa has no countries with European-derived majorities, or with the exception of Cape Verde and probably São Tomé and Príncipe, depending on context, but there are significant minorities, such as the white South Africans in South Africa. In Asia, European-derived populations, specifically Russians, predominate in North Asia and some parts of northern Kazakhstan. Europe has about 225 indigenous languages. The largest religion in Europe is Christianity, with 76.2% of Europeans considering themselves Christians, including Catholic, Eastern Orthodox and various Protestant denominations. Among Protestants, the most popular are Lutheranism, Anglicanism, and the Reformed faith. Smaller Protestant denominations include Anabaptists as well as denominations centered in the United States such as Pentecostalism, Methodism, and Evangelicalism. Although Christianity originated in the Middle East, its center of mass shifted to Europe when it became the official religion of the Roman Empire in the late 4th century. Christianity played a prominent role in the development of the European culture and identity. Today, a bit over 25% of the world's Christians live in Europe. Islam is the second most popular religion in Europe. Over 25 million, or roughly 5% of the population, adhere to it. Other religions practiced in Europe include Hinduism and Buddhism, are minority religions. A large and increasing number of people in Europe are irreligious, atheist and agnostic. They are estimated to make up about 18.3% of Europe's population currently. The three largest urban areas of Europe are Moscow, London, and Paris. All have over 10 million residents, and as such have been described as megacities. While Istanbul has the highest total city population, it lies partly in Asia. 64.9% of the residents live on the European side and 35.1% on the Asian side. The next largest cities in order of population are Madrid, St. Petersburg, Milan, Barcelona, Berlin, and Rome, each having over 3 million residents. When considering the commuter belts or metropolitan areas, within Europe, for which comparable data is available, Moscow covers the largest population, followed in order by Istanbul, London, Paris, Madrid, Milan, Ruhr area, St. Petersburg, Rhine-Sud, Barcelona, and Berlin. Different cultural events are organized in Europe, with the aim of bringing different cultures closer together and raising awareness of their importance, such as the European Capital of Culture, the European Region of Gastronomy, the European Youth Capital and the European Capital of Sport. Europe is the second smallest continent, and it could be described as a large peninsula or as a subcontinent. Europe is the western portion of the Eurasian landmass and is located entirely in the northern hemisphere. Several larger islands belong to Europe, such as Iceland or the British Isles with the UK and Ireland. With an area of 10.2 million square kilometers, 3,938,000 square miles, Europe is 20% larger than the contiguous United States. The European Union has an area, without the UK, of over 4.23 million square kilometers, 1.6 million square miles. Europe is shared by 50 countries. By the conventional definition, there are 44 sovereign states or nations in Europe. Not included are several countries, namely Turkey, which occupies only a small part of East Thrace on the European Balkan Peninsula. Cyprus, an island in the Mediterranean Sea, is geographically part of Asia Minor, Middle East. The Faroe Islands, an island group between the Norwegian Sea and the North Atlantic Ocean, are a self-governing territory of the Kingdom of Denmark. Greenland, which geographically belongs to North America, is as well an autonomous Danish territory. Kosovo is a partially recognized state in the Balkans. A small piece of western Kazakhstan is also considered to be part of Europe. An estimated 747 million people live in Europe. The most populous country in Europe is the European part of Russia with a population of 110 million people, followed by Germany with 83 million citizens, and metropolitan France with 67 million inhabitants, in 2020. Highest point. With a height of 5,642 m, Mount Elbrus is Europe's highest mountain. The dormant volcano lies in the Caucasus Mountains in southern Russia. Mont Blanc at 4,808 m is the highest mountain in Western Europe and the highest peak of the Alps. Lake Logotin northeast of St. Petersburg in Russia is the largest lake entirely in Europe with a surface area of 17,700 square kilometers. Lake Onega located northeast of Lake Lagota in European Russia has a surface area of 9,700 square kilometers. Other major lakes are Lake Vänern in Sweden, largest lake in Western Europe, and Lake Saimaa in Finland. Lake Balaton in Hungary is the largest lake in Central Europe with a surface area of 592 square kilometers. Europe's longest river is the Volga with a length of 3,530 kilometers 2,190 miles. The river's catchment area is almost entirely inside Russia. The river flows into the Caspian Sea. The second longest river in Europe is the Danube with a length of 2,850 kilometers 1,770 miles. The longest river in the European Union region flows through 10 countries and empties into the Black Sea. Major geographical regions in Europe are Scandinavia and the Scandinavian Peninsula, the Baltic Sea, the North Sea, the British Isles, the Great European Plain, the Central European uplands, the Alps, the Mediterranean, the Italian Peninsula and the Apennine Mountains, the Iberian Peninsula, the Pyrenees, the Balkans and the Balkan Peninsula, the Black Sea and the Caucasus. Major languages of Europe are English, French, German, Greek, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Nordic languages, and East European languages. See also, Languages of Europe. Some countries of Europe in alphabetical order: Albania, Andorra, Armenia, Austria, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Belgium, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czechia, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Georgia, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Moldova, Monaco, Montenegro, Netherlands, North Macedonia, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Russia, San Marino, Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, Ukraine, United Kingdom, UK, Vatican City, Holy See. That's all about EU. European continent. Thank you for watching.